Welcome to the alien world. A simple gift jacket given to shivering alien queen. Now her people demand I become their king. Dr. Marcus Vega cursed the failing atmospheric regulator in his exosuit as another gust of frigid wind cut through the supposedly insulated fabric. The planet Virith had seemed a perfect research opportunity, an icy world with surprisingly complex flora and fauna, until his research vessel's engine core had malfunctioned, leaving him stranded with limited supplies and a distress beacon that would take weeks to reach the nearest outpost. Day 16 of unexpected extended stay, Marcus dictated into his wrist recorder. Local temperature holding steady at -43°C. Thermal imaging suggests geological heat vents approximately 2 kilometers northeast of my position, moving to investigate potential for sustainable shelter. The crystalline landscape sparkled under the pale blue light of Virith's distant sun. Ice formations rose like twisted spires from the frozen ground, creating a labyrinth of reflective surfaces that had disoriented him more than once. His xenobiology training had prepared him for harsh environments, but 16 days alone on this frozen world was testing the limits of his endurance. As Marcus approached the heat signature, a faint musical sound carried on the wind. He paused, adjusting his audio filters to isolate the noise. It wasn't geological. The rhythmic pattern suggested intelligence. Following the sound, he carefully navigated through a narrow passage between towering ice formations until the path opened into a vast circular clearing. In the center stood a slender figure draped in diaphanous silver robes that rippled in the wind. The being was humanoid but clearly alien, tall and graceful with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Most striking were the delicate crystalline growths that formed a natural crown atop the being's head. Marcus activated his suit's translator and crouched behind an ice formation, observing. The alien, female, he guessed from the voice pattern, was singing while tracing intricate patterns in the air with long, six-fingered hands. Occasionally, she would shudder violently, but would steadfastly continue her ritual. "She's freezing," Marcus whispered to himself, noting how her blue skin had darkened at the extremities, likely their species' equivalent of hypothermia. Yet she continued her ceremony with determined precision. When she collapsed to one knee, still singing but visibly trembling, Marcus made a split-second decision that would alter the course of his life. He emerged from his hiding place, approaching slowly with hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. The alien's song faltered as she spotted him. Her large, pupilless silver eyes widened, but she showed no fear, only curiosity and perhaps resignation, as if too cold to flee. "I'm not here to harm you," Marcus said, knowing his translator would convert his words to something approximating her language. "You're suffering from cold exposure." Without further thought, Marcus unfastened his thermal jacket, the expedition's best technology for extreme cold, and gently draped it around her trembling shoulders. The effect was immediate and unexpected. The alien gasped, her skin flushing a deeper blue as her trembling subsided. But more surprising was her reaction. She touched the jacket reverently, then looked at Marcus with an expression of such profound emotion that it transcended species barriers. Thank you," she said, her translator converting her musical language into stilted English. "I am Alara. You have honored me beyond all measure." Before Marcus could respond, a low horn sounded from beyond the ice formations. Suddenly the clearing was filled with more of her kind, some in elaborate armor, others in ceremonial robes. They froze at the sight of Marcus, then noticed his jacket around Alara's shoulders. A collective gasp rose from the group, followed by excited chatter. An older alien stepped forward, dropping to one knee before Marcus. "The prophecy," the elder said through his translator. "A Starwalker brings warmth to the ice throne. All hail the Queen's chosen. All hail the new king of Virith." As the assembled aliens knelt before him, Marcus looked to Alara in confusion. She was smiling now, her silver eyes bright with what might have been tears. "What's happening?" Marcus asked quietly. "You have given me your outer shell during the solitude ritual," Alara explained, her voice gentle but firm. It is our highest form of courtship, offered only when one's heart cannot bear to see the beloved suffer. You have asked for my hand before all the ancestors, and I have accepted. The royal palace of Virith was a marvel of crystalline architecture, spires of ice that somehow remained warm inside, illuminated by bioluminescent fungi that cast a gentle blue glow across polished surfaces. Marcus paced his lavish chamber, still struggling to process the events of the past 48 hours. "This cannot be happening," he muttered, watching his breath form tiny clouds despite the room's relative warmth. "I was just trying to help her." A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Thalix, the elderly royal advisor who had been assigned as Marcus's cultural guide. "Your Ascendancy," Thalix bowed deeply, his crystalline crown catching the light. "The preparation ceremony begins in 1 hour. The royal tailors await to fit your ceremonial attire." Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair in frustration. "Thalix, please, we need to talk about this. On Earth, offering clothing to someone who's cold is just basic kindness, not a marriage proposal." Thalix's silver eyes widened. "But Ascendant Marcus, you offered your warmth shell during the sacred solitude ritual when Queen Alara communed with the ancestors in vulnerability. Such an act speaks to the very foundation of our society." He gestured to the window where the bitter winds of Virith howled. "Our world is harsh. Our ancestors survived by sharing warmth. To offer protection from the cold is to offer life itself. There is no greater bond." "It was a misunderstanding," Marcus insisted. "I need to speak with Queen Alara directly." "As you wish," Thalix nodded, though concern lined his ancient face. "She awaits in the frost garden." Marcus found Alara among crystalline flowers that seemed impossibly delicate. Without her ceremonial regalia, she appeared younger, almost vulnerable. Her blue skin shimmered subtly as she turned to face him. "Marcus," she smiled, his name musical in her language. "I hoped you would come." "Your Majesty," he began awkwardly, "I need to explain something about humans. When I gave you my jacket, I wasn't proposing." Her silver eyes studied him intently. "Yet you saw my suffering and acted without hesitation. Such compassion is rare, even among my own people." "It was instinct," Marcus admitted, "but on Earth it wouldn't bind us to marriage." "And do you find the prospect of our union so distasteful?" There was no accusation in her voice, only genuine curiosity. Marcus hesitated. "No, not distasteful, but shouldn't marriage be based on love, knowledge of one another? We're not even the same species." Alara gestured to a bench carved from ice that somehow remained comfortable to sit upon. "Our traditions hold that actions reveal truth where words may deceive. Your actions spoke of compassion, bravery, and selflessness, the foundations upon which love may grow." She paused. "However, I will not hold you to our customs against your will. If you wish to declare the courtship void, I will announce it at tomorrow's council." Looking at her, this alien queen with wisdom beyond her years and kindness in her eyes, Marcus felt something unexpected stir within him. Before he could respond, a commotion echoed from the hallway. A tall, imposing Virithian warrior strode into the garden, his armor gleaming and face thunderous. "My queen," he said sharply, barely acknowledging Marcus. "The Council of Elders demands immediate audience. The human's claim to the throne is being challenged." "By whom, General Korvax?" Alara asked, her posture suddenly regal. "By me," Korvax said, finally turning his cold gaze to Marcus. "I invoke the trial of ascension. If this Offworlder wishes to stand beside our queen, let him prove his worth as our ancestors did." As Alara's face paled to a lighter blue, Marcus realized that his window for backing out of this misunderstanding had just slammed shut. "The trial of ascension has not been invoked in 7 generations," Alara argued before the Council of Elders, her voice sharp with barely contained anger. "It is barbaric and unnecessary." Marcus stood beside her in the circular council chamber, acutely aware of how alien he appeared among these blue-skinned beings. The 12 elders watched from their elevated seats, their crystalline crowns more elaborate than those of other Virithians. "Ancient law cannot be set aside for convenience, Your Majesty," said Elder Voss, the eldest among them. General Korvax has the right to challenge your chosen mate. And what exactly does this trial entail? Marcus asked, his translator struggling with the formal dialect. 3 challenges, Korvax answered, satisfaction evident in his tone. Strength, wisdom, and spirit. Fail anyone and you forfeit your claim to the queen and throne. Marcus met the general's gaze steadily. And if I refuse? Then you admit unworthiness, Korvax smiled coldly. You would be banished from the queen's presence, and I, as the next highest-ranking suitor, would claim courtship rights. Marcus glanced at Alara, surprised by the protective anger that surged through him at the thought of this arrogant warrior forcing his way into her life. Perhaps it was just his human sense of justice, or perhaps something more. I accept the challenge, Marcus declared, causing murmurs among the elders. Later in the royal training grounds, Marcus struggled to adapt to Virithian weapons. The ice-forged blade felt wrong in his hands, lighter than it appeared but with balance points unlike any Earth weapon. Your form is terrible, came a female voice. Marcus turned to find a younger Virithian female watching him with amusement. Her military garb marked her as part of the royal guard. I'm Marcus. I know who you are, she replied. Everyone knows I am Commander Athalia, head of the Queen's personal guard. She assessed him with professional detachment. You will lose if you fight like that. Then teach me, Marcus said. By nightfall, every muscle in Marcus's body screamed in protest, but he had begun to grasp the fundamentals of Virithian combat. As he limped back to his chambers, he found Alara waiting outside his door. You should not have accepted, she said quietly. Korvax is dangerous. I gathered that, Marcus winced as he rotated a sore shoulder. Why does he hate me so much? Alara hesitated. He has sought my hand since we were young, but his heart craves power, not partnership. She stepped closer. May I enter? There is much to discuss in private. Inside his chambers, the air between them changed. Alara moved with less formality, more natural grace. She explained the politics of her world, the factions that supported and opposed her rule, and the significance of the upcoming trial. Your arrival has upset delicate balances, she admitted. Some see you as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, others fear change. And what do you see? Marcus asked softly. Alara studied him, then slowly reached out. Her 6-fingered hand gently touched his face, her skin surprisingly warm. I see someone unlike any my world has known, someone who acts from the heart rather than calculation. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither had expected. When her fingers traced the outline of his jaw with fascination, Marcus felt his breath catch. Acting on impulse, he caught her hand in his. In human culture, he said, voice low, this is how we might begin courtship. He pressed his lips gently to her palm. Alara's skin flushed a deeper blue, her silver eyes widening. Our biologies are different, she whispered, but perhaps not so different in ways that matter. What began as cautious exploration became something more profound. Their differences, skin temperature, texture, anatomy, created a dance of discovery that transcended physical boundaries. By dawn, curled together beneath silk-like coverings, Marcus realized the trial ahead was no longer about cultural misunderstandings. Now he fought for something, someone, he was unwilling to lose. The ancient arena of Virith lay within a massive natural crater, its walls lined with ice formations that acted as natural amplifiers. 10,000 Virithians filled the stands, their collective breath creating a cloud of vapor above the gathering. Marcus stood at one end of the arena, dressed in ceremonial armor crafted to fit his human form, while Korvax stood opposite, confidence radiating from his posture. The first challenge is strength, announced Elder Voss. Combatants will fight until submission or incapacitation. Alara watched from the royal dais, her expression carefully neutral despite the fear Marcus had seen in her eyes when they'd parted that morning. I've trained my entire life for this moment, Korvax said as they circled each other. Your soft human body cannot withstand Virithian combat. Marcus didn't waste breath responding. Commander Athalia had drilled him relentlessly on Virithian fighting techniques, emphasizing that their joints, while flexible, had limited range compared to humans. When Korvax lunged, Marcus used this knowledge, twisting in ways the general clearly hadn't anticipated. The battle was brutal. Marcus took punishing blows but used his greater flexibility and different center of gravity to his advantage. When he finally forced Korvax to yield with a joint lock Commander Ithalia had taught him, a shocked silence fell over the arena before erupting in thunderous sound. Bleeding and bruised, Marcus looked up to see Alara's mask of neutrality broken by the faintest smile. "The second challenge is wisdom," Elder Voss declared once the arena had been reconfigured. A massive three-dimensional puzzle of ice and light stood before them. Navigate the path of ancestors in the shortest time. This challenge played to Korvax's knowledge of Virithian history and symbology. The general moved confidently through the puzzle, manipulating ice formations that shifted and reconfigured based on ancient historical patterns. Marcus studied the system carefully, recognizing something his scientific background illuminated. The puzzle operated on mathematical principles related to crystalline growth patterns. Where Korvax relied on memorized historical sequences, Marcus applied universal mathematical principles, finding efficient paths the general missed. When Marcus completed the puzzle first, murmurs of amazement spread through the crowd. Even Elder Voss seemed impressed. "The human shows wisdom beyond our expectations." Korvax's face contorted with rage. "The final challenge will be your undoing," he hissed to Marcus. "The third challenge is spirit," announced Elder Voss. "Each contestant will journey into the ice caverns of truth and retrieve a heartstone that resonates with their being." Marcus was led to the mouth of a vast cavern system beneath the arena. "What exactly am I looking for?" he asked his guide. "You will know when your spirit recognizes its match," the guide answered cryptically before leaving him at the entrance. The caverns were a disorienting maze of reflective surfaces and identical passages. Hours passed as Marcus ventured deeper, guided only by instinct. Eventually, he entered a chamber where thousands of crystalline formations hung from the ceiling, each glowing with inner light. As he studied them, one crystal seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. Reaching up, Marcus touched it, and was instantly flooded with visions: Earth, his family, his research, and then, surprisingly, Alara. He saw her not as queen, but as companion, their differences creating something new and beautiful. When the vision cleared, the crystal had detached into his palm, glowing with warm, golden light, startlingly different from the blue illumination of other Virithian artifacts. Making his way back was harder than expected. Several passages had mysteriously collapsed, forcing difficult detours. Near the exit, Marcus heard a commotion, finding Korvax with his own dimly glowing crystal, attempting to trigger a cave-in at the main passage. "No human will rule Virith," Korvax snarled upon seeing him. "Once you're buried, I'll claim you were lost to the caverns. A tragedy, but it will leave the path clear." "This isn't just about me," Marcus realized aloud. "You plan to control Alara." "She is too soft-hearted for effective rule," Korvax replied. "With me guiding her decisions, or replacing her if necessary, Virith will become the military power it was meant to be." The fight that followed was desperate, both men struggling in the narrow passage as Korvax triggered his sabotage. As the ceiling began collapsing, Marcus made a split-second decision, pushing Korvax out of the path of falling debris while diving the opposite direction himself. When Marcus finally emerged, bloody and dust-covered, carrying both his golden crystal and Korvax's blue one, the general was being restrained by royal guards. Ithalia had overheard his plans and followed them into the caverns. Elder Voss examined both crystals with astonishment. "The human's heartstone glows with the sacred fire color from our oldest legends, and he saved his rival despite treachery." The elder turned to the crowd. "The trial of ascension is complete. Marcus of Earth has proven himself worthy in strength, wisdom, and spirit." As the crowd roared its approval, Marcus sought only one face. When his eyes met Alara's, something unspoken passed between them, a promise deeper than any ceremony could formalize. The coronation chamber of Virith was transformed for the occasion. The normally austere ice architecture bloomed with bioluminescent flora in patterns representing the royal lineage. Dignitaries from all 7 provinces of Virith had journeyed through dangerous terrain to witness the unprecedented, a human becoming their king. Marcus stood before a mirror adjusting his elaborate ceremonial robes, designed to incorporate both Virithian tradition and subtle elements of human formal wear. The past 3 weeks since the trial had been a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural lessons, and increasingly intimate moments with Alara when they could steal time alone. "It suits you," came Alara's voice from the doorway. She was resplendent in her own ceremonial attire, her crystalline crown more elaborate than usual. "The clothing or the role?" Marcus asked, turning to face her. "Both," she smiled, crossing to stand before him. "The council is ready, but before we proceed there is news." Marcus felt his heart tighten. "What kind of news?" "Your people have responded to your distress beacon. An Earth vessel will arrive within 2 days." The words hung between them, altering everything. Until now, his stranding had made the decision to remain somewhat theoretical. With rescue imminent, reality crashed in. His career, family, the life he'd built on Earth now stood in stark contrast to this new role on a frozen alien world. "I see," was all he could manage. Alara touched his face gently. "You must choose freely, Marcus. No Virithian tradition or expectation should bind you if your heart lies elsewhere." In that moment of perfect honesty between them, Marcus realized how far they'd come from a simple misunderstanding in a frozen clearing. What had begun as cultural confusion had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated, a connection that defied their biological differences. "What does your heart tell you?" he asked softly. "That I loved you before I knew what to call the feeling," she answered. "When you placed your jacket around my shoulders, no one had shown me such care since my parents' passing. But love cannot be selfish, if Earth calls you home." Marcus silenced her with a gentle touch to her lips. "Home isn't always where you were born. Sometimes it's where you find purpose and love." The coronation ceremony blended solemn tradition with moments of unexpected emotion. As Marcus knelt before the Council of Elders to receive the ceremonial crown, specially designed to complement rather than replace Alara's, he reflected on the improbability of his journey. From stranded scientist to alien king in less than 2 months. When he and Alara sealed their union with the traditional pressing of palms, her 6 fingers aligned carefully with his 5, the gathered Virithians erupted in approval. Even those who had initially opposed him seemed moved by the genuine connection visible between their queen and this strange offworlder. 2 days later, Marcus stood at the landing pad as the Earth rescue vessel descended through Virith's swirling atmosphere. Alara stood beside him, their hands intertwined in what had become their custom. Commander Athalia approached with a communication device. "They're requesting to speak with you, Your Highness." Marcus activated the channel. "This is Dr. Marcus Vega." "Dr. Vega, thank God you're alive," came an excited voice. "Prepare for immediate evacuation. We've got medical personnel standing by." Marcus looked at Alara, at the crystalline palace that had become his home, at the people who had accepted him as their leader. "That won't be necessary," he replied. "I'm not in need of rescue." "I don't understand," the voice responded. "Our orders are to bring you home." "I am home," Marcus said firmly. "However, I would like to establish formal diplomatic relations between Earth and Virith. Our worlds have much to learn from each other." As the human delegation disembarked amid confusion and wonder, Alara squeezed his hand. "Are you certain?" she whispered. Marcus smiled, thinking of the simple jacket that had started everything, a gesture of basic human kindness that had changed 2 worlds forever. Some misunderstandings lead exactly where we're meant to be. Around them, the eternal snows of Virith glittered under alien stars, no longer a place of cold isolation, but the setting for the warmest connection Marcus had ever known.